Alhamdulillah.
All praise is due to Allah. He made Ihsaan the highest level we can attain and made its people those who will be granted the most virtuous of ranks. I praise Allah as He is perfect in every way, and I am grateful for His abounding and unmistakable favors. I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah alone without any partner. He is the only one, in ultimate control of all blessings. I further bear witness that Muhammad is Allah's worshipping servant and messenger. He was indeed a prophet of many merits. May Allah grant an abundance of His commendation and protection to His messenger, as well as to the messenger's family and companions for as long as the earth and sky continue to remain. Dear Muslims, you must observe taqwa of Allah by fulfilling His commands and avoiding His prohibitions. Allah deserves that you observe taqwa and remain mindful of Him whether you are in public or private. In addition, you must devote yourselves to Him by having ihsaan, worshipping Him in the best way. When you do that, He will grant you immense kindness, mercy, and reward. The most remarkable of people are those who have hearts which love Allah more than all else. They continually remain mindful of Him. They spend their time calling upon Him in private. They do not devote any of their worship to other than Him. They obey Him whenever they speak. They comply with His directives whenever they act. They are happy knowing that He is near to them. They feel sorrow about Him reprimanding them. They cannot bear to be away from Him for even a moment, and they do not utter any word that displeases Him. Dear Muslims, when people attain certain levels in Allah's religion, that leads them to high standing with Allah, makes them role models for others to follow, and enables them to have Allah be pleased with them and love them. Servants of Allah, the pinnacle of those levels is called Ihsaan in Arabic. It entails doing what is best in the most complete way. It combines the elements of completion and goodness. Since Islam's teachings form the foundation from which all virtues emanate, the level of ihsaan is given the greatest of importance in Islam's texts, and it is one of the most crucial acts of worship to perform. Allah said, Allah indeed instructs you to be fair, have ihsaan, and give to those related to you. In addition, our Prophet, may Allah grant him commendation and protection, stated, Allah certainly prescribed ihsaan in all things. The starting point of ihsaan lies in a person doing what is best as it relates to his own self, by making himself recognize his Lord, affirming his Lord's uniqueness, worshiping his Lord with full mindfulness, and constantly struggling to maintain full sincerity towards his Lord. When a person does those, he would actualize the statement of the Prophet, may Allah grant him commendation and protection, worship Allah as though you could see Him. And although you cannot see Him in this world, always remember that He sees you. That level is the highest objective and level, and there is no aim greater than that for a person of Iman, someone who has sound beliefs and performs righteous deeds. By way of having ihsaan, a person becomes as someone would be if he actually sees his Lord with his very own eyes. Can you imagine the degree of what such a person would feel towards Allah in terms of reverence, humility, servitude, and submission? When a person knows that his Lord always sees him, is aware of even his innermost secrets, and is never unaware of anything about him for even the blink of an eye, that person would strive to perform all his acts of worship as best as possible without any sort of deficiency and without ever feeling any sort of fatigue. A person of Iman is to have ihsaan when performing salah, obligatory prayers, since those are the times at which he meets his Lord, Allah, who is to be more beloved to him than all else. Those are the times when he calls upon his Lord in private, and he should therefore ensure that he does so in the best way. His limbs should come to rest while bowing and prostrating. He should not let any part of his prayer be stolen from him. He should not perform its movements quickly and abruptly, the way a bird pecks, and he should not be unmindful or inattentive about what he is doing. He should perform his prayers with composure, humility, mindfulness, and focus. A person of Iman is also to have ihsaan when giving zakah, obligatory charity. Giving zakah purifies one's wealth, makes one's earnings grow, and provides consolation to one's brothers who are in need. Thus one is to give it to those entitled and do so at the time when it is due. It is to be given in full, without any decrease. It is to be given with willingness. One must not remind any recipient of having given it or cause any sort of harm to a recipient. Furthermore, one should not be too stingy to give optional charity in addition to zakat, since that would be a further act of kindness and an extension of ihsan. A person of Iman is to also have ihsan when he fasts. That comes about by foregoing his own desires and giving priority to what Allah wants from him. By doing that, the individual worships Allah in a very special way and attains that level of ihsan. The individual foregoes the most beloved of things to himself without even the nearest of people to him knowing about that, and he does so giving priority to the one who is aware of all things. This is the essence of ihsan, and fasting is an incredible means by which ihsan can be actualized. A person of Iman is also to have ihsan when performing Hajj, which is an act that represents the response of an individual to the call issued by his Lord, who is to be more beloved to him than all else. Hajj further entails an individual setting out to the house of his Lord, performing all acts of worship there sincerely for his Lord alone, and avoiding marital intimacy and its precursors, disobedience to Allah, and disputation for the purpose of rejecting the truth. In such a state, the individual is to fully devote himself to Allah and be mindful of the reverence due to the location to which he has come. While at the site of Allah's sacred house and within the precincts of His blessings, a person must desist from having Allah see him doing anything unbefitting, neglecting any obligation, or falling short in any act of worship. Thus, Hajj is another major manifestation of ihsan. In addition to the preceding, a person of Iman is to have ihsan as it relates to others. Once a person has ihsan as it relates to himself, he should strive to train himself to have ihsan towards others. There are innumerable ways that can be done, including extending kindness, having a pleasant facial expression, helping others in need, assisting others in distress, feeding those who are hungry, caring for orphans, tending to widows, assisting people in getting married, visiting the ill, teaching those who lack knowledge, giving directions to those who lost their way, and so on. Dear Muslims, further manifestations of ihsan that provide profound admonition for Allah's worshipping servants can be found in the hadith that mentions 7 types of people to whom Allah will grant shade on the day when there will be no shade except the shade that He grants. Among those mentioned were a man who says, "I fear Allah," when a woman of status and beauty entices him to commit adultery. A man who gives charity so discreetly that even his left hand does not know what his right hand gives. And a man who mentions Allah while alone, and due to that his 2 eyes shed tears out of reverence for Allah and yearning to meet Him. These are 3 truly profound manifestations of ihsan that only the most complete of individuals would be able to embody. The first one mentioned is the case of a man who finds himself tested by a woman of status and beauty, enticing him to commit adultery with her. That situation could very well cause him to give in. However, remembering that Allah always sees him is like a flame that burns brightly in his heart, and it outshines the desires he feels within himself. Thus, he makes a momentous statement by saying, "I fear Allah," due to overcoming his own inclinations and being mindful of his guardian Lord. That is something that would not be uttered without its roots already being firmly implanted in the heart. An individual would not reach that level without having an abundant share within himself of ihsan and mindfulness of Allah. The second manifestation mentioned in the hadith is the case of someone who gives to the poor in private, doing that as a way of ensuring his sincerity to Allah the Most Exalted. Here, the utmost degree of ihsan is actualized, since the person extends his generosity to others, and he also conceals that from the eyes of people. This represents the epitome of ihsan, performing an act of worship without giving mind to anyone besides Allah, and making one's priority the fact that Allah sees him and knows everything about him. The third manifestation mentioned in the hadith is the case of someone who mentions Allah while alone, and due to that his two eyes shed tears because of the fear, love, hope, and yearning that he feels towards Allah. This type of person is someone who sincerely devotes all of his worship to Allah and performs his deeds in the best way. This can be understood since he sought to be away from people in order to be focused on what Allah sees from him, and he then continues remaining mindful that Allah sees him. This person's ihsan is indicated by him being alone, mentioning Allah, calling upon Allah in private, and even weeping. There are many facets of ihsan that such a person engages in. Moreover, since people with the foregoing qualities gave priority to remembering that their Lord always sees everything about them, Allah will grant them a reward on the day of resurrection which comes from none besides Him. Allah indeed spoke the truth, saying, "Is the reward for ihsan, doing good in this world, anything other than ihsan, receiving good in the hereafter?" May Allah enable all of us to glean benefit from the evidences that He sent down to us. I implore Allah to forgive myself and all of you for every sin. All praise is due to Allah for His kindness, and I am grateful to Him for His innumerable favors and blessings. I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Allah's worshipping servant and messenger. May Allah grant His commendation, protection, and blessings to His messenger, as well as to the messenger's family, companions, and all who continue to follow their path until the day of recompense. My dear brothers who have Iman, ihsan regarding both oneself and others leads to incredible results and rewards. Firstly, the individual attains the level of having Allah be pleased with him, and also having Allah be with him. Allah, who is perfect in every way, said, Allah indeed loves those who have ihsan. And Allah also said, Allah is most certainly with those who have ihsan. Secondly, Allah's mercy is nearer to those who have ihsan than it is to anyone else. Allah said, Allah's mercy is indeed near to those who have ihsan. Thirdly, the individual who has ihsan is promised an increase of goodness from Allah. He said, "Is the reward for ihsan, doing good in this world, anything other than ihsan, receiving good in the hereafter?" And He also said, "We will grant increase to those who have ihsan." Fourthly, a person who has ihsan is entitled to glad tidings of reward from Allah. He said, "They will find with their Lord all that they desire. That is the reward of those who have ihsan." Fifthly, the rewards of those who have ihsan are preserved with Allah, even though they are concealed from people, and even though some people may deny them. Allah said, Allah would certainly not cause any reward to be lost in the case of those who have ihsan. Sixthly, having ihsan produces indescribable enjoyment within a person's heart, and this is why some of the scholars commented that the greatest enjoyment that can be found in this world is that which comes from having ihsan. This enjoyment may also be considered part of the glad tidings mentioned earlier. All of the foregoing provides very strong encouragement to traverse the path of ihsan, such that it is found in all of a person's words, deeds, and circumstances overall. May Allah make all of us steadfast in adhering to the path of ihsan. O Allah, we beseech you to answer our supplication. In conclusion, remember that Allah instructed us to invoke His commendation and protection for His messenger. Allah said, indeed Allah grants His commendation to the Prophet, and the angels invoke Allah to grant him even further commendation. People of Iman, invoke Allah to grant the Prophet commendation and to grant him protection as well. O Allah, grant your commendation and protection to your messenger. O Allah, be pleased with his four rightly guided successors, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. O Allah, we beseech you to be pleased with us along with them by your favor and kindness. O Allah, we beseech you to grant strength to Islam and the people of Islam. We beseech you to weaken shirk and those who are enemies towards you and your religion. O Allah, we beseech you to grant us safety and security in our lands. O Allah, we implore you to make our leaders people who are righteous. O Allah, guide our leader to all that you love and are pleased with. O Allah, enable him to do all that pleases you. O Allah, we call upon you, the one to whom all of us will finally return. O Allah, we implore you to grant us the good which we ask of you, and we beseech you to pardon us for our wrongdoing and shortcomings. O Allah, bless us with contentment and with your protection. O Allah, we implore you to make us people whose hearts are firmly attached to you and not to others. O Allah, we call upon you to support our brothers who defend the borders of our nation. O Allah, we implore you to grant them your assistance and to be with them. Our Lord, grant us good in this world, grant us good in the hereafter, and protect us from the torment of the hellfire. O Allah, we beseech you to grant us your mercy and pardon. Servants of Allah, remember that Allah commands you to do all that is right and pleasing to Him, and He forbids you from all wrongdoing and immorality. Ensure that you mention Allah, and if you do so, He will mention you. Be mindful of His directives and His blessings, and Allah has complete knowledge of everything that you do.